all looked in the mirror and asked, is this really me? Not only in our skin, but in our silence, in our sacrifices, in the spaces that we've made ourselves smaller just to survive. This podcast is not about beauty standards. It's about alignment. It's about healing the gap between who we are and who we've had to be. Welcome to Beyond the Mirror, Beauty RX with Dr. Kenzi. I'm Dr. Kenzi, a board-certified physician, aesthetic medicine expert, a mom of 5, a wellness entrepreneur, and the founder of Kenzi Med Spa and Wellness Center. I'm also, most of all, a woman who's had to rewrite her story more than once. I created this space not just for women, but for anyone who's had to recreate their story. Anyone who's ever had to look at a reflection and thought, I know I'm still in there somewhere. At Kenzi Med Spa and Wellness Center, I help people reconnect with their glow on the outside. But here, we're going beneath the surface. We're going into confidence. We're going to look at boundaries. We're looking at spiritual clarity. We're looking at self-leadership. Because what good is clear skin, or what good is beauty when your soul is stuck, when your soul is suffocated and stuck? Each episode, I promise you a beauty RX. And that's one mind shift, one intentional habit, and one truth that will bring you back to wholeness. It's not about performance. It's not about perfection. It is about presence. Let's begin the return. I'd like to take you a little bit behind the curtain because I believe in starting with truth. I've spent many years in traditional medicine, specifically hospital medicine. Late nights, high stakes, nonstop pressure to perform. And while I loved serving people in crisis, something was slowly unraveling inside of me. I was exhausted, not just spiritually, not just physically, but mentally. And I couldn't name it at the time, but I now know exactly what it is. I became disconnected from myself. See, I was showing up for everyone, my patients, my families, my responsibilities, but I was absent in my own life. Then came the shift. Business ownership, burnout, grief, motherhood on a level that I never expected, but also breakthrough. Because, pain has a strange way of introducing you to the most powerful parts of yourself. Somewhere in the midst of trying to hold it all together, I realized I didn't want to just survive. I wanted to rise. I wanted to rise into that version of me that everyone, not the one that everyone expected, but the one that I had hidden under all the titles, all the traumas, all the to-do lists, just everything that rolls onto you on a day-to-day basis. And what started as aesthetic medicines, Botox, facial contouring, body contouring, turned into something so much deeper. When a client sits in my chair and says, Dr. Kenzi, I just want to feel like me again. You have no idea. I know exactly where you're coming from. I know exactly what that means. And this podcast, was born out of that moment. Out of the cry beneath the surface that says, I am more than what I have become. And maybe today you feel that too. Now take a breath with me. We're going to inhale for 3, hold for 3, and then exhale for 6 seconds. Ready? Now, I want you to ask yourself this. When did I last feel connected to myself physically, mentally, spiritually, all at once? What parts of me have I silenced to keep the peace or to hold it all together? This is an important one. This is something I did for years. Where am I over functioning to feel worthy? Where am I over functioning to feel worthy? Who am I becoming? And is it by design or is it by default? Who am I becoming? And is it by design or by default? This is your space, ladies and gentlemen, to unlearn, reimagine, rebuild at your pace with power and presence. Each week, I'll continue to share, or I will be sharing, behind the scenes truth from medicine, from motherhood, and med spa life. We'll talk about confidence tools rooted in just science and soul, beauty education without the shame, without the fluff, without the filter, and real talk on healing, boundaries, resilience, and renewal. We'll break down the myths about aging, beauty, self-care, and womanhood. We'll talk about trauma, we'll talk about hormones, burnout, business, Botox, and bouncing back from rock bottom. You'll also hear from women who have risen from the ashes of their own story and now walk in power. Because I believe this deeply. You don't need more hustle. You need more alignment. You don't need a new face, my love. You need permission to reclaim the one that you have fully, proudly, boldly. This is not a makeover. It's a return to your original glow. Let's close today's podcast with your very first Beauty RX. We'll talk first about mindset shift. You, my friends, don't have to wait for a crisis to change. You're allowed to evolve because you're ready, not because you're broken. You don't have to wait. You are ready to evolve. Evolving starts now. An intentional habit. Choose one boundary this week that honors your peace. What could that be? Maybe saying no. Maybe logging off a little bit earlier. Maybe asking for help. You weren't meant to do everything on your own. And one truth to anchor in is power is not something we earn. Power is not something that we earn. You already have power. It's something you have to remember. And today, you're remembering. If today's episode spoke to your soul, I'd be honored if you would follow, share, and show this to someone that you love. Whether you're rebuilding after burnout, navigating a glow up inside and out, or simply trying to find your way back to yourself, know this: you are not alone. You are not too late, and you are not too much. You're exactly where you've meant to be. This is Beyond the Mirror, and the rise within, it starts right here. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you next episode.